Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Belinda Colleen and I talk about reselling a lot. And today I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about being retired and working as a part-time reseller, and basically about how we need to remember our priorities. It's so easy once you start doing a business like this to get wound real tight about it. And I have a tendency to be that way sometimes. And I just had something happen yesterday or day before yesterday. It might have been day before yesterday. It was late at night. Anyway, that kind of knocked the wind out of me and made me sit back and get some perspective on things. Um, I I had my second bad review, and it was a doozy. The first one I got removed because the guy basically said he never got his item, and we in the post office said they delivered it, and so his review, they took it down because it wasn't a righteous bad review, because I don't have any control over delivery, and supposedly it did get delivered. So my 100% was restored, and I was all giddy and happy about it and thinking, okay, this is great. And so, 2 weeks later, uh, it was late at night, and I glanced just to see if I'd sold anything else that I needed to wrap. I try to wrap at night, but sometimes I wrap in the morning too, just because so many things sell in the middle of the night. So I glanced, and wow, I had the worst review I've ever had. And I've only had really two bad ones. So that one, but this one it felt personal. I thought, wow, was this my ex-husband? Was this someone I made mad? It was unbelievable. Basically, they said that I had sold a shockingly filthy hat to them that was illy constructed and all these things. And I was just stunned because I'm sure, like most of us, I inspect everything thoroughly. Now I'm not saying I don't make mistakes, but normally when I catch my mistakes, it's way before it goes out to the customer. And certainly, and when I've caught mistakes, normally it's when I'm photographing it. That's usually the first time that I check in the store when I'm buying it and try to see anything obvious. And then when I get home and I start to photograph, I check it again, of course, and then I'm photographing the inside, the outside, all over it. So I have caught many mistakes then, and I hate to tell you, but there have been way too many things I've redonated because I catch something I missed. Well, long story short, this woman must have had a bad day. All I can say is, as we say in the South, bless her heart. She was angry, and she decided to take it out on me. That's the only thing I could gather from the whole thing, but it still was like a kick in the gut. Plus, it was a really long-winded. She went on and on and on, and I thought, my goodness, how in the world could someone have so much hatred? And then she said, I can't be bothered to discuss this with anyone who would send out such a filthy hat. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was the last of the thing. And I was like, A, I know it wasn't filthy. B, not to gross you out, but I do a little sniff test on hats, especially because I think, well, what if someone sweated in it? So I absolutely know that was incorrect. Now, it didn't fit her, I think, and I put in there that it ran small. So I take responsibility. I tried the hat on because I thought, I'm like, even though I sort of have a Charlie Brown round face, I have an average size head, I think, for a woman. And when that was a little tight on me, I should have thought about it and maybe not sold it. Well, this woman evidently ripped into it, and she must be a seamstress or something. I'm not. It had a silky lining in it. That's why I know it wasn't filthy. I looked at it, I smelled, I did the whole thing. I tried, if a hat doesn't smell clean, I won't send it, because I'm not going to wash a hat typically, especially with a lining. It can mess up the bill. It can mess everything up. So I just won't sell a dirty hat. But I probably shouldn't have sold a hat that small. Anyway, I reached out to her and told her that, I'd be very happy to refund her money and that I was sorry she was dissatisfied. That's all I did. I didn't go into a lot of detail. I thought I'm not going to get into the negativity because I just don't think that's, I'm a business owner and I don't want people to judge me. Although when they read that review, I thought, oh my goodness, I may never get another sale again. And so I was very upset. But it took me a minute. I reached out to some people on Facebook, and I'm in a Facebook group, and it's nice because when you have a problem, you can kind of reach out and say, in this situation, what's the best thing to do? And that's what I did. And I got some great responses. I mean, it's a great group. You might want to check it out because I've gotten some good advice from these people. And basically all I ended up doing was via Facebook, I mean, not via Facebook, via the messaging on eBay, I asked, I told her I'd be happy to refund her. And then I also responded in the feedback area. You can respond. I didn't know that. And so I responded and said, I'm always very unhappy when my customers are dissatisfied. That's why I have a 30-day return, because I always want you to leave happy, and I don't want you to be unhappy with the purchase, blah, blah, blah. I didn't say anything negative. I didn't defend myself, which was hard because I wanted to say, that hat was not filthy. Why do you feel the need to, harass me and say it was? But I didn't do that. I just kept it completely professional, like a robot, which I'm not good at being, but I can be when I need to be. And even when I was a customer service manager in the corporate world, I knew I had to do that. It's funny how this feels so much more personal, though. But the thing in retrospect now, and now that I've had a couple of, maybe a day or so to get over this, I started thinking about it, and I got a lot of good advice, and a lot of people just sort of discussing the situation. And that's when I realized, if you're going to deal with the public, at some point, someone's going to dump on you. Even, and I'm not saying I don't make mistakes. I do. I just know I didn't make these mistakes. And the thing that really caught me off guard was for someone to say I sent something out filthy. Because it's one thing if someone says it doesn't fit. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. Let me give you a refund. That's pretty, that happens if you sell anything that people wear. But for someone to say that I would send something out filthy, that really kind of hit me right in the heart, because I would never do that. So that hurt. And, but anyway, I took it personally. You can't do that. And so now that I've stepped away, I'm like, okay, Belinda, don't get so upset. You're a part-time reseller. You're semi-retired, for goodness sakes. You have bigger fish to fry and lots of fun to have. And you need to keep this in perspective, because the most important goal of your life and priority right now isn't to make millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's to do something fun, to be active, to get out there, to have a supplemental income that's play money, have fun with it. And on top of that, don't let this get you down. And I'm saying this because we all are sensitive people, most of us are, and it hurts when you try so hard to do well and to do the right thing. And sometimes things are going to happen like this. And then that's when it's real important to remember you're retired. And so I wanted to talk about prioritizing your good times. I'm trying to make sure that I'm doing that. If I get too wound up in this, and especially if I have a really long day and I spend too long in a day doing this stuff, the parts of the business I don't like. In fact, I would encourage you to delegate the parts that you don't like as much as possible, or to find some ways to make it fun. For me, I don't like listing. A lot of people don't like listing. Now, there are people who are super organized. There are people that love listing. There are people that don't like shopping that do this, which always surprises me. That's my favorite part. So I think as much as anything is remember to keep it fun. Remember to step away and don't immediately respond to any crazy person that attacks you. And then especially when it feels like they're attacking you personally, because you are bound. I mean, I had so many comments when I put it out on Facebook, in the Facebook group that was resellers, say, You made it 2 years, over 2 years without getting one of those. I can't believe it. So it's a common experience to get an angry person who claims things that may or may not be true and is so obviously angry about it. And now my rating is 99.6. So honestly, big deal, right? But it was so vicious that it was like, it was shocking. But you just have to remember that nobody's not going to do. In fact, I got a sale almost immediately after it happened, which was made me feel, I was like, thank goodness that they obviously did read that review. But people may look at your percentage. I don't think they read every review you get, or maybe they do if it's a lot of money. I don't know. I don't know how people read reviews. I know when I'm buying something, I just look at their percentage. And if they're in the 90s, I'm going to buy from them. Now, if they're a lot lower than that, then I might read it and think, what's going on with this seller? I really want what they have, but I don't know. I mean, especially if they're like 60 or 70%, I probably would not buy from that person. But anybody in the 90s is getting overall good feedback. But keeping it fun is important, and I'm reminding myself, and in fact, the spring is coming to the Atlanta area. It's going to be in the 60s today. I mean, that's the weird thing about Georgia. 2 weeks ago, we were freezing to death, and now it's warm, and it's going to get warm fast here. I mean, it's almost like we have 7 weeks of winter and 40 weeks of summer. Our spring/summer, we don't have a lot of cold weather and we don't have a lot of cool weather, but we have a lot of kind of spring, summer type weather. And our falls are, really kind of more like summers. I would say summer, when you think about the way other people in the country think about it, we have a long summer. And it seems like it's getting longer, actually, and that may be the whole global warming. I don't know. But all I know is that the warm weather is a lot more inclusive. So, and I've been thinking about that as far as my sourcing goes, that I need to buy more things that you can wear every season and buy less heavy winter stuff. I like winter stuff, so I tend to overbuy in that area. But I only, and I do sell some up. It's funny, I sell up and down the East Coast. But I'm thinking seriously, and I'd love to hear what you think about this strategy about buying more things that are not seasonal. And that way there won't be as many shifts in my inventory from season to season, and so many things I have to, mark down or mark up and all that. I mean, I want to have some fun seasonal stuff just because I know there's a big rush at the beginning of the seasons. But now that we're leaving winter, I'm starting to mark down the winter stuff dramatically and even reevaluate some of the stuff that didn't sell that I thought, well, I don't think that was a good buy. I may just take it out of the inventory. But anyway, I'm also thinking, I'm one of those people that overanalyzes, I guess, but I think it's better to overanalyze than underanalyze. And I have to remember my business model needs to make sense for me. And last night I had this weird dream that made me think, they say that you get some of your best ideas when you're sleeping or, almost asleep or just waking up. And my dream, and I think it was maybe also encouraged by some YouTube videos I watched recently about this guy who buys things on Facebook Marketplace for a lot of money and sells them on eBay for a lot. And that probably had something to do with this. But I'm thinking to minimize the parts of the business I don't like listing, and to maximize the parts that I do like shopping and the purchasing side of it, I am going to start trying to buy a lot more expensive things. I was always a little bit nervous about it, thinking the customer service would get out of hand and that people would get so much pickier. But I think that's more in fashion. I mean, if somebody needs a part for their, I'm still going to be careful with the technology because I already got burned on that when I first started. But I'm going to start trying to focus on high-end more. And that cuts out a lot of the listing. And it's a business model that kind of accentuates the parts I like, which is the shopping, and de-emphasizes the processing, the listing, the washing, all of that stuff that you have to do to get it online. And I think I'm definitely going to go that route a little more. I'm already, have really built up my menswear, and I have had good results from that because the men's stuff tends to go for more. Of course, as a woman, I love to shop in women's wear, but for whatever reason, I've just seemed to do better with the menswear in terms of average sales price. But I think you just have to rally, and you have to rally in the fun times. When you have a great day, celebrate. When you have a bad return, circle the wagons, reach out to your people. I even called my mother. I told her about it, and she goes, "Oh my gosh." So, don't do everything alone. And especially when you get a bad bump, talk to somebody about it, process it, let it go. And, it took me almost exactly 24 hours to let it go. Although you're saying, well, you're still talking about it. Well, I am. But now it's like I've removed myself, and now it's almost kind of funny. I thought, boy, it's funny to see how much vitriol was in that feedback. It stunned me. I was like, whoa. But something's wrong. And that was having a really, really bad day. So, long story short, I think as much as anything, I wanted to do this video and just talk about keeping your perspective and remembering, especially if you're a retiree, you've got more important things in your life. The people in your life, your grandchildren, your children, your parents, depending on where you are in the spectrum, your vacations, your lunches with friends. These are way more important than one person's bad day, or maybe the listing you're sick of. Change it, delegate it, find a kid in your family, or find someone on summer break, or whenever that wants a part-time job. If you can afford to do that, and if you have the resources or people around that will be happy to do that for you, get some other people involved to do the parts that you don't like. I haven't done that yet, and you may not be, depending on your financial situation, and it, once you start paying somebody, it gets a little more complicated too, because then you've got a payroll thing going on. I know at different times in my life, I had to deal with payroll, and I did not like it, but now there's a lot of payroll services that make it so much easier that you could even use. And if it's someone in your family, that makes it even easier. So just remember to rally in the good times, because you're going to have good days and bad days. And it is hard. We aren't robots. We're not AI robots. We are human beings who get our feelings hurt. And especially if we're trying very, very hard to be a good salesperson, to be a good business owner and take care of our customers, then when we get slapped in the face, it is hard. Or when you have 2 days without a sale and you think, wow, how did that happen? And you start looking over your stuff and over analyzing your inventory. I think I would, I do believe in analyzing things, but I also really believe that is just normal for businesses. And you just have to realize that. I mean, even the huge companies have these big roller coasters, and they've got all the good minds and all the analytical people and all the hardware and the software and everything you can imagine to analyze this stuff and even it out. But they even experience the same things, especially seasonality. Personally, my February has been slow. It's been slow. January wasn't slow. December wasn't slow. Of course, December's never slow. November was good. October was good. I mean, basically, it was a little slow for me last summer, especially I think in like July. But and then August it started picking up. But I think that's a back to school thing, and people are starting to get serious. Okay, summer's over, whatever. And they start buying those last minute things for those last vacations. But this February has been a little slow, and I didn't buy anything for Valentine's Day. I don't typically buy stuff for Valentine's Day. So it's one of the events that I don't think too much about, because it's quick and short. And I think, and I'm not going to sell candy and roses. So I figure, or really I don't sell much jewelry. So I figure I'm not really in that game. But I will buy things for the spring change and for summer. But anyway, thank you for listening, and I hope you got something out of this. Just remember to keep your chin up. You're retired, for goodness sake, or you're semi-retired and you've got a side hustle. You're doing part-time work. Remember that. Don't compare yourself to the kids out there that are in their 20s and 30s and they're hitting it hard just like you probably did in your 20s and 30s. They're building their life. They're building their child's college fund. They're saving for vacations. They're building for their retirement. They've got a lot on their plate, and they're listing 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 items a day. And you aren't in that position if you're a part-time seller, and you don't need to be. So just back out of a lot of that stress that we're prone to from our past life in corporate America or whatever, or as a business owner in other businesses. And just remember, your first priority, I mean, as long as you're not starving to death, your first priority is to just enjoy yourself, have a good time with it, keep your perspective. Don't compare yourself to a lot of the YouTubers who are in a whole different place in life, because there's no reason to. Enjoy it. Take some day trips to go shopping to some fun places. Make it fun. I'm talking to myself as much as I'm talking to you, because I just had a moment where I lost my sense of humor temporarily, and now it's come back. So have a great day. Bye-bye.